So we talk a lot about how a hitter's internal sense of what they think is happening, their feel, versus what is actually happening on a biomechanical level is usually wrong. And without reliable feedback, it's really a guessing game. And the challenge is when you're watching big leaguers talk about what makes their swing a good swing, like the things that they're thinking about in order to rock off a good swing, you get contradicting information. And so one of the things that we say is that there are hitting trends and there's hitting principles. Hitting trends change from decade to decade. Hitting principles stand the test of time. And so a good example would be how Griffey or Albert Pujols talk about how they get their barrel through the zone, right? They talk about driving down through the baseball. And maybe a Barry Bonds or hitting instructors that talk about HLP, they talk about speed to launch, right? Getting the barrel on the plane of the pitch early and often. So as hitters, on our journey to being a student of the game, it's like, how do we decipher what's gonna work for us and what's not gonna work for us? How do we take that information? And how I describe it is that there are hitting trends and hitting principles. Hitting trends change from decade to decade, but hitting principles usually stand the test of time. So another way to look at it is hitters evolve. If you look at hitters from the 80s, you might start to see hitters deeper in the batter's box, a lot of close stances, hinged at the hip, and they have what we would call an old school, blue collar, dirt bro batting stance. And as we started to move into the 90s, you started to see a little bit more creativity. You started to see batting stances that were open, hands above the shoulders, a little more creativity, a little more flair. Completely different. And now you're starting to see hitters do things that we would never teach 10, 20 years ago. Wrist snap, wrist supination, even starting to swing before the front foot hits the ground. Again, what do we do with that information? Hitting trends versus hitting principles. What are the principles? Attacking the inside part of the baseball, swinging at quality pitches, putting pressure on the defense, making the pitcher work, being tough with 2 strikes, being a great teammate. These are all things that are within your control. They require zero talent. They don't require you to be the next Mike Trout or the next Ohtani. They just require you to understand the principles that allow you to attack the inside part of the baseball with posture. Will wrist supination, speed to launch, HLP be here 10, 15 years from now? I don't know. That's the thing, if I were to go to a ball club with young hitters and ask them who Charlie Lau was, probably not one kid would raise their hand, right? Charlie Lau was probably one of the most influential hitting instructors to ever live, right? In the 80s and 90s, he was huge. His protege was George Brett, and George Brett was probably the greatest hitter on the planet at that time. What was their philosophy? Straight to the baseball. Do we talk about Charlie Lau now? Probably not, right? Not a lot of people know who Charlie Lau is. So the question is, was he talking trends or was he talking principles? For you younger hitters, what you can do is you can ask your dad or ask an older hitting coach, what was their philosophy? They'll probably say, getting on top of the baseball. The quickest distance from point A to point B is a straight line, right? What we were taught is to get on top of the baseball and focus on linear versus rotational hitting. Completely different. It's a trend. Trends change from decade to decade. Hitting principles never change. Can you be great at attacking the inside part of the baseball? That's a hitting principle.